Hello everyone, today I'll be talking about semi-arid region and what are their vulnerabilities and related issues. These are 2-mark question or 5-mark question at max that comes in your bachelor's question paper. And what is a structured way to write it? I am giving an overview and not the entire bit. So this is how you can structure, and the base code information should be structured in this way. So what are semi-arid region? These are the regions which have less than 50 to 75 centimeters of rainfall and aridity index of 0.2 to 0.50 can be termed as a semi-arid region. This is the definition. Now what are the vulnerabilities? These regions have high wind and solar regimes, excessive rainfall variability, desertification and slow natural regeneration of vegetative cover, and low groundwater table. Moving on, where are these regions located in India? They include some parts of Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, major parts of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. Over 75% of the India's cropped area is in semi-arid regions. So that can be one of the reasons why this question is so important and it stands out, because India is still agricultural based economy, and where more than half of the cropped area is in semi-arid region, where we have talked about the vulnerabilities that prevail in these kind of agricultural sector. So that becomes one of the striking factors why this particular topic can be important for your exams. Okay, so now that we have an understanding that most of the agricultural land semi-arid region, so what are the problems that are faced in these regions? These are as follows. Like, the agricultural practice is still in the rain-fed way. There is lack of water for irrigation facility. Then we already have infertile soil. So higher amount of fertilizers are required to tackle the demand for the agricultural products. Then we have burning of organic matter post harvest season, which reduces the fertility. And there is free grazing that is practiced in India still to this day. Therefore, the top layer of soil gets much more vulnerable to erosion. Any type of erosion, like it can be water erosion during monsoon, or it can also be vulnerable to wind erosion as well. Also, there is hardly any scope for crop diversification. Then we come to what are the main problems with respect to agriculture in India. First is water scarcity that we want to discuss in details. That is, rainfall is already scarce and it is erratic in nature. The amount of water that could have been collected from rainwater is not being done in a proper manner due to lack of infrastructure. Therefore, groundwater recharge is also less. Most of the regions are covered with concrete. In the wave of urbanization, acres of land, it is covered with concrete. So groundwater is getting depleted and it is not getting recharged properly. Right? Problems that couple with water scarcity is water runoff. Now, the loose particles of soil which are not maintained and are left for open grazing, free grazing, these leads to lesser capacity of the soil to hold the moisture and let it percolate deep down. And it is coupled with the factor that intense amount of concretization is going on. Therefore, the runoff is obviously very high. And on top of that, we have traditional storage facilities in and near the agricultural areas, where tanks and ponds are utilized for curbing the intense runoff. But these are not efficient enough to hold that much amount of water when intense spells of rainfall occurs. Now, soil fertility that we will discuss in details. Since rainfall is low, therefore leaching is also low. Therefore, salts accumulate near the surface, leading to a pH of greater than 7. So the soil becomes alkaline, which is depicted by pH greater than 7. So soil fertility is low. Therefore, less crop choice for alkaline soil. Also, I would like to give an idea why I've written ET greater than precipitation. Because our agricultural lands fall under semi-arid region, that means greater amount of solar regime that we have discussed previously also. So that does not let the salts to go down into the soil, and it remains in the top layer near the surface. Therefore, the soil becomes alkaline. Okay. Now, rainfall when rainfall is low, soil water or soil moisture will also be low. All the crops cannot be grown. Only those which are drought tolerant can be grown, right? Also, we have talked about the soil having lesser amount of nutrient. It is due to low solubility at high pH. Therefore, the overall productivity is also low. So what happens is, in high pH, key nutrients like phosphorus, iron, zinc, manganese form insoluble compounds that cannot dissolve into the soil solution, which leads to lesser dissolved soil nutrient. Therefore, plants cannot take up enough amount of nutrients that is required for greater productivity, which again leads to low soil fertility. Now, soil fertility leads to lesser amount of plant growth, limited organic matter input, because from leaves and stems also organic matter is injected back into the soil again. But since production of plant or plant growth is low, therefore it is again another low, that lower amount of organic matter is injected into the soil. Now, here in this passage or this bullet point, it is stated that organic matter only comes from root biomass, which contributes to higher fertility, but that is also less. Therefore, again, another loop, that organic matter is again less. It is because leaves and stems are used for economic purpose, like feeding the cattle, etc. Now, when those are not returned back to the soil, the organic matter's production becomes low. Now, due to lesser amount of productivity of plants or whatever uh, production that we are doing in the agricultural field, that is low in quantity. Therefore, the stems and leaves that we will be using for as fodder and feeder for livestock, that will also be less. Therefore, what we are gaining in economic terms from livestock, that will also be reduced, right? Lesser food means lesser production capacity of those animals which we are considering as livestock. Therefore, livestock will also be lesser in quantity, and the amount of whatever materials that we are gaining from them, for example, milk production, that will also reduce. Now, while talking about organic matter, although some quantities are left in form of root biomass, that contributes to a small percentage of soil fertility, accompanied by a very small amount of the organic matter which is contributed by livestock dung. Again, in this situation, if we use green fertilizer, we are not sure about how much benefit we will be gaining, because due to high pH of the soil, the bacteria and the microbial activity is also not potentially active. It is sluggish in nature, which inhibits the production of enzymes which break down the residues. Therefore, we see that there are numerous loops that is going on in the soil environment, that one step is leading to another. It is like a domino effect. Imbalance in one section is leading to imbalance in the next stage, and that results in such a lasting impact that it is very much difficult to stop and come back to the original, right? So with this, I conclude my video.